Hi you guys, welcome to middle school algebra this year. Our first unit here is on expressions, and we're going to start with target number 1 this week, today, with solving numerical expressions. So first unit, here we go. So first off, I ask, what do you know about operations, order of operations already? I know that we've seen this before in some previous math classes. So I put this picture on the front of your note packet because, how confusing that 8 plus 2 times 6 doesn't equal 60. We need those order of operations in order to do this correctly. So first off, as we look at our order of operations, let's start with our G. Our G stands for grouping. So grouping symbols always comes first. We've got parentheses, brackets, braces, absolute value bars, radical sign, fraction line. All of these things really act as this grouping, and we'll see these as we get into especially some level 3 problems. The next is E, and E stands for exponent. So if we've got an exponent in our problem, that comes next. Then we look at our multiplication and division as our next step. Now, just because multiplication is shown up here first does not mean it takes place first. So whenever we're left with just multiplication and division as our next step, we always travel, looking at our arrow here, left to right. We always perform these left to right. Our last two operations here then are addition and subtraction, and same rule of thumb here. We always travel from left to right as we complete addition and subtraction. So whatever is left, if we just have addition and subtraction, we'll go in order from left to right. So a few hints for us to remember. First off, when you've done everything you can with the parentheses, so you can't simplify any further within those parentheses, you can get rid of them. Also, if you don't see an operation symbol, so for example, 3y really means 3 times y or 3 times y. If something is touching like that, another example could be like this. Since this 3 is touching the parenthesis, we don't see an operation. That means times. So one thing I want to be sure that I make really clear so that we don't make mistakes as we're working through these problems is the importance of showing your work. So I call this kind of the funnel method, and we'll refer to this as we do these problems. They start really long, and just like a funnel, they get smaller and smaller as we move to the end. So we'll see here, making clear we first simplified this. Next, we're simplifying this piece. Then we did this. Then we did this, and we funnel all the way to our answer. So we really want to be careful as we're doing these problems. Showing our work is very key. So let's take a look here at some level 1 problems to get started. So first off, I'm going to leave us our little note, our GEMDAS, in the top here. So the first thing I see are some parentheses, and grouping always comes first. So we'll take a start in our parentheses. 7 minus 2 will give us 5. Now, I've done everything I can in those parentheses, so we can actually get rid of the parentheses here. Now, all we have left is division, and 5 divided by 5 will give us 1. Our next one, we've got parentheses again. Grouping always comes first, so 4 plus 4 is 8. Now, since I look in those parentheses and I can't do anything else with 8, I can go ahead and get rid of those parentheses. And now, just like our first problem, we have just division left to finish out this problem. So we can go ahead and do 48 divided by 8 to give us 6 as our final answer simplified. And our next one here, again starting in those parentheses. 13 take away 8 leaves us with 5. And now, since the 7 is touching these parentheses and there's no operation between, that is going to tell us we're multiplying. And 7 times 5 will give us 35. Let's take a look at some level 2 examples. So again, we'll put GEMDAS at the top of our screen. So we're going to start here with our parentheses, our grouping. 6 minus 4 will give us 2. Now, again, we're done in our parentheses, so we can drop those parentheses, and here's what we're left with. Now we're left with multiplication and division. So when I look at multiplication and division, we're moving from left to right to solve this problem now. So we're going to start with 2 times 49. I like to think of this like 2 times 50, which I know is 100, but then we went over twice. So we're going to back it up to 98. And then we've got 98 divided by 7, which will give us 14. Our next one here, starting inside the parentheses. So I have subtraction and multiplication inside the parentheses. We are going to go ahead and start with our multiplication. So we'll have 7 minus 3 times 2 is 6. We still got some business to take care of inside of those parentheses. 7 take away 6 is 1. Now I see we have an exponent on the outside of these parentheses. So we want to go ahead and do the exponent next. So 1 squared is like 1 times 1, which is just 1. Now we've got addition and multiplication, so we'll take care of multiplication first. 3 times 1 is 3. Finishing here with 6 plus 3 is 9. All right, our last level 2 example. I don't see any grouping, but I do see an exponent, so we're going to take care of 3 squared first. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, so that'll give us 9. Remember, squared means we're taking the base and multiplying it as many times as the exponent. All right, now I have division, multiplication, and subtraction. I know division and multiplication come first, and we're going to move left to right with this. So we'll start with 27 divided by 9, which is 3. And then here's what I have left. So now we will multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. And 6 take away 3 will leave us with 3 to finish. All right, a couple more hints now that we move into some level 3 examples. So sometimes we have nested parentheses. So this means we're going to have multiple parentheses within our problem. We always start with the innermost set of parentheses. So when I look here, we've got 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets. We would start with the very center, this blue set of parentheses, as we would solve this. So always starting in the center. Another thing to remind us is sometimes fractions can act as parentheses. We can't do anything with this fraction line until we simplify the top and we simplify the bottom. So we have to simplify anything first, kind of like there's some parentheses here. We can almost just draw these in like there are parentheses. So I could actually kind of do this when we've got that big division sign here. All right, let's look at a couple level 3 examples. First one here. We're going to start in our innermost set of parentheses. So we have 16 take away 14, which is 2. Here's what we're left with then. Now inside of those brackets, I've got subtraction and an exponent. And we know our exponent is going to come before our subtraction. So 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times itself 3 times. So 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is going to give us 8. Now we'll finish in these brackets. 24 take away 8 is going to give us 16. And we'll see here to finish a big problem to multiply here. 5 times 16 will give us 80. It's okay to use a calculator there if you needed help on that last step. All right, next one. We've got a couple sets of parentheses. Let's start right here. We've got 1 take away 5, which will give us -4. Now we've got -4 squared. So -4 times -4. 2 negatives are going to give us a positive 16. So this part is a positive 16, but then we had that minus in front. Now to get rid of these parentheses, it looks like we have a minus and another minus. And we know two minuses right next to each other are going to turn into a plus. Now we have addition and subtraction left, so we're going to work left to right, starting here. Negative 4 get 4 bigger is 0. And then 0 take away 16 is negative 16. And our last one here. Starting with, we've got this big division sign, so we have to simplify the bottom before we can do anything further. So let's start with 5 take away 4 inside of these parentheses is going to give us 1. Now, again, we've got to simplify the bottom before we can divide this whole thing. So 8 times 1 gives us 8. And now on the bottom, 8 take away 3 is 5. So now, since we've simplified the top and the bottom, now we can go ahead and divide. And this can be a little bit tricky because we're told division should come before addition and subtraction, but since it's stuck under this big division sign, we have to simplify things before we can divide.